And howdy doody to you all. Um, Rick Wiles. Do you know who Wiles is? Well, if you don't, I will tell you. Rick Wiles is an evangelical preacher of the Flowing Streams Church in Vero, Florida. Um, the church is a non-denominational um, congregation, and he's also the founder CEO of Tru News, TRU News. Um, he is on the surface part of what you will call the Christian right, in the tradition of Jerry Falwell, Pat Robertson, Jim Baker, John Hagee, Franklin Graham. You kind of get the idea. Except he's to the right of those guys. Yes, he's more extreme and more hateful than they are. Can you imagine that? Can you honestly envision anybody being more hateful than Jerry Falwell, being more hateful than Pat Robertson, John Hagee, Frank Graham? Oh yeah, Brian Fisher. Can you imagine anybody being more hateful than those pricks? You have it with Rick Wiles. I mean, he is so far to the right that he makes your fire brimstone fundamentalist preacher from the South look like a mild mannered Unitarian minister. Pretty scary. Um, he's not even. I mean, as I said, he's to the right of the social conservative movement of the Christian right. He's to the right of that. He's actually tiptoeing into alt-right territory as far as I'm concerned. And really, if you think about it, Christian identity. You don't know what Christian identity is? It is basically a Christian movement that is separate from other aspects of Christianity. Um, that is basically the ideology is white nationalism in origin. It preaches that black and brown people have no souls and therefore will not be able to go to heaven because they're not human, according to the people who practice Christian identity, and they believe that Jews are the children of Satan. So this is the kind of mentality you're dealing with Rick Wiles. This is not hyperbole. This is what he believes. And the fact that he has the listening ear of Donald Trump is quite troubling. I mean, he comes up with a lot of outlandish conspiracy theories over the years, like Bill Clinton is into cannibalism, or that the royal family murdered Princess Diane. I believe that's how it went, and that they practice Satanism. He claims that Barack Obama is a literal demon bringing on or encouraging Islamic jihad, and went out of his way to have U.S. Supreme Court Associate Justice Anthony Scalia murdered. Rick Wiles urged dropping nuclear bombs on the Islamic world, and he also referred to Israel as the synagogue of Satan. Well, just recently, he with the protests going on somewhat around the country, and when it comes to these protests, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and the narrative that you're hearing from Fox News and you're hearing from right wing talk radio, while there may be some unpleasant aspects coming from those protesters and activists, it is largely exaggerated. I mean, I live in central North Carolina. I mean, yeah, there was some a little bit of civil unrest, in the beginning when George Floyd was murdered. There was some civil unrest. It kind of largely passed. I mean, yeah, some community activists may be a little loud and what have you, but honestly, this is not going on all over the United States. And even in places where there is a lot of protests, the majority of those protesters are peaceful. But for what I have seen, and I'm not opposed to law enforcement per se. I'm not. I mean, as far as when they say defund the police, as taken out of context, defund the police really means don't give them Pentagon crap. Don't don't make them like they're about ready to fight in Afghanistan or Iraq or somewhere in the Middle East. But that's the problem with law enforcement. They get military equipment from the Pentagon. I mean, that's a problem. So I mean, but anyway, um, Rick Wiles urged he urged Donald Trump basically to use the Insurrection Act, go into Portland and just just kind of do what the Chinese government did in Tiananmen Square in 1989. But his words were, mow them down with 200 billion bullets. In other words, he wants the U.S. government to go in there and commit murder against people who are actually peacefully protesting. And I can guarantee you, the majority of them are peacefully protesting. And anybody who tells me otherwise, whatever. Um, as I said, Fox News will take the most unpleasant video footages, and in a lot of cases will kind of play it over and over again because Fox News has a narrative. The people say CNN and MSNBC has a narrative, but Fox News also has a narrative. And as I said, the majority of the protesters are peaceful. Now, there's some knuckleheads looting, or there's somebody you got people who wants to provoke violent revolution, even if it's ostensibly on the left. I will condemn it because I believe in peaceful protests. And as far as leftism is concerned, I'm not that kind of leftist, and I'm not sitting there making an apology or trying to whitewash or say it in a defensive manner. I'm just saying because this is what my politics is my politics, and that's what my channel's about. And I'm for peaceful, basically peaceful process, and wanting to basically find a way to kind of solve a lot of problems in our country, and do it through nonviolence, do it through peaceful actions, direct action, yes, and peace protests. I'm for boycotts if there's a boycott needed. I'm for sit-ins. I'm for blocking. I'm for these things. I'm not for attacking police officers and all that. But you know what? The police shouldn't be attacking peaceful protesters either. And I'm not even saying that the majority of the law enforcement practice police brutality, but for those who do, they need to stop it, and we need to weed out the bad apples within law enforcement that commits police brutality. So I mean that's what it comes down to. But Rick Wiles knows the distinction between peaceful protesters and the very very minuscule few that may engage in violent actions. And the thing about it is, the Department of Homeland Security have said for many many years, even back in the days of George W. Bush, have said that domestic white nationalism is a bigger threat than Islamic radicalism. It's true. And I am not making any apologies for those who would actually commit Islamic jihad against the West. Don't have time for that either, and I would denounce it just the same. But when it comes to Antifa, that our president wants to declare as a terrorist organization. Antifa never, ever murdered anyone. Domestic white nationalists and have murdered people, but not one member of Antifa has ever murdered anyone. At the worst case scenario, Antifa might have been a little louder and a kind of unpleasant. I mean, if you want to stretch it, but they're not a threat to the social order in the United States. And it's funny when you hear it from Fox News, they try to have it both ways. On the one hand, they try to make fun of them. Oh, they're just a bunch of soy boy little weaklings with purple hair. I mean, they're just little sissies. What can they do? Ha ha ha! Look at the little beta cucks. Ha 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 ha! That's the one thing that Fox would do. On the other hand, they will act like, oh my God, they're literal communist, violent revolutionaries. They're going to go and overthrow the government. Which is it? I mean, the selective outrage. I mean, getting back to Rick Wiles. I mean, when Barack Obama's minister, Jeremiah Wright, made those controversial statements at Trinity United Church of Christ back in whenever he did it, I guess in the 80s and 90s, about America and roosters, the what's it, the chickens are coming home to roost commentary, and the 9/11 truther conspiracy theories, and the kind of anti-Americanism and what they consider Black liberation theology and the more militant rhetoric side of it. You never heard the end of it from Fox News and right-wing talk radio that Barack Obama is this radical uh, Black revolutionary trying to destroy the United States. When all I saw was a very bland, mild-mannered neo-lib corporatist that played patty cake with the system and did hardly anything for anybody but just to get himself reelected and be George W. Bush light. That's what I saw with Barack Obama. I didn't see this militant revolution. Now, I wouldn't want him to be a militant revolutionary, but what I wanted him to be was the next FDR, and he wasn't even that. So I mean, but you never heard the end of it from, and I remember you never heard the end of it. The right wing movement conservatives out there were just sitting there over and over, bitching and moaning about what a revolutionary, violent, radical Marxist Obama is, and that's being charitable. And the other part was he's a secret Kenyan Muslim trying to destroy Western civilization. So I mean, which is it? I mean, and then there's some that likes to link the two movements as into one. Ask the people of Afghanistan how much Marxism and Islam and Muslims got along famously during the 1980s. And that would diffuse that theory right away. But suffice to say, around that same time, when John McCain, spiritual advisor, was John Hagee, a vile anti-Catholic evangelical pastor, and basically linking the Catholic Church to Hitler. No outrage there. I mean, it was bad enough that John McCain had enough decency to want to distance himself, and I do think that John McCain didn't believe that kind of garbage coming from John Hagee anyway. Even though I had my problems with John McCain too, but the point I'm trying to make is that you never heard the selective outrage from Fox News and talk radio. They won't sit there and call out the zealots on their side, but they'll go and they will exaggerate comments people will make on the other side. Like I'll give you an example. During the, and I call it the bad old days because they were the bad old days of George W. Bush presidency, just after 9/11. Ward Churchill, who was a I believe a political science professor, I'm not sure, from made comments about how the United States kind of encouraged 9/11 to happen with its policies. And what did right wing activists do? They basically call him a traitor, and they urge that the University of Colorado fire this professor with his horrible words that he had to say. Now, I don't particularly agree with Ward Churchill, but I am a First Amendment absolutist and a free speech radical, and that is his right to say that. But on the other hand, Dinesh D'Souza basically made the remarks that 9/11 happened because the Islamic radical world went and were upset over Western secular values like the separation of church and state, that we're not a religious society, and that women have rights, and God forbid that this was even before gay marriage happened, that gays were being treated equal. And this offended the Islamic world, and us conservatives in the West, our enemy shouldn't be radical Islam. It should be the Western secular left. That was treasonous of Dinesh D'Souza. But did you hear the right wing state that? Oh no, 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 no. Narrative, folks, narrative. See, I'm an honest person, and so if I hear stupidity coming out of the left, I will call that same left on it. I mean, and there are issues where the left can be stupid at times, and I'm saying this as a means of tough love, and I'm not saying this to sound like Tim Pool, and I'm not saying this to sound like Dave Rubin, who is actually no longer on the left, but still more shenanigans and more crazy conspiracy theories and all of that comes from the right. I mean, Rick Wiles, listening to the garbage he has to say, makes Alex Jones sound reasonable by comparison. Scary at times we live in. So anyway, if there's any people from the movement conservative area of the political world that would listen to this channel and listen to this commentary, please prove me wrong by denouncing Rick Wiles. I don't mean that you should demand that Rick Wiles shut up, because I don't believe anybody should shut up, because I'm a free speech absolutist. But where is the condemnation of Rick Wiles? Where is the condemnation? I guess I won't hold my breath. If you like what you heard today, please press like and comment. If you hate it, you can press not like, or like thumbs down, and comment too. I'm curious what you have to say as well. We have algorithm problems because that's how social media is operating these days, and they claim, the right wing claims they're being censored, and there's partial truth to that. So is the left. The only thing that's allowed right now these days are the establishment and establishment voices. They are marginally on the left or marginally on the right, and because of that, they're manipulating the algorithms to basically silence alternative voices. And I believe that everybody should develop a platform and use it. I want to get up to 1,000 subscribers before the end of this year, and you can make that happen. Just hit the subscribe button. Please do so. And as I said, it's not about me. It's about the politics I espouse, social democracy, and the unique angle I have on it. And once again, I hope everybody has a great day. Until next time, peace, and Bernie Sanders 2024. I'm not joking when I said that. Take care.